Hey everyone, Mah-Dry-Bread here. Pokemon Gold with only one Goldeen had an easier early game than I was expecting. Let's follow that up with one that starts off a little bit harder. Today's the day that we figure out would I be able to beat Pokemon Emerald with a team of only Bug-type Pokemon. Alright, I'm pumped for this one. Bug types are awesome, and Pokemon Emerald is absolutely loaded with them. There's something like 10 different evolutionary lines of bug Pokemon that we can get our hands on before we get into the Hall of Fame, so I'm gonna have to make some difficult choices about who I do and don't want on the team. Like always, I'm writing the script as I go through with the challenge, so this part is being written before I've started. Everyone comment down below and guess if I can win or not. Well, we're weak against a lot of the gyms, but I'm not actually too worried about the Elite Four. Let's explain the rules. In combat, I can only use Bug-type Pokemon. I'll need other Pokemon to use HMs, but I won't be allowed to use any of those Pokemon in battle. No glitches or exploits, no items in battle, only Pokeballs, held items, and items outside of combat are allowed. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let's do this. So, right off the bat, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Trico with Heracross so that we can do the whole run with it. I had to restart a few times because I got Modest twice, and that's literally the opposite of what I want, but eventually I got Jolly. That's more speed and less special attack. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Alright, so while I do some early game travel, I have to explain why I went with Heracross. Normally, this would be the last bug Pokemon that I plan on getting that we can actually reach, all the way in the Safari Zone after the Flying Gym. It's not too close to the end of the game to be useful, but it does mean that we'd probably have it lagging behind in levels pretty hard. If we start with it though, then we can make the whole early part of the challenge a lot more interesting. Like, the first gym is an infamously difficult Rock Gym, where they could obviously destroy most bug-type Pokemon with Rock Tomb. Well, although Rock Tomb will still work well on Heracross, at least we're not weak to it. The real test is to see if we can get to level 23 to learn Brick Break before we can beat the Rock Gym, or if we can just brute force it with non-fighting moves. I'm actually pretty excited to see how this goes. Oh, and I had to catch a few different Wurmples. Now, I don't really care about getting a Dustox this run. Yeah, having Psychic moves is nice, but overall it's just not a very good Pokemon in this game. Whereas Beautyfly has pretty great special attack and can learn Grass moves, so I could do some cool stuff with it. I'm gonna have to keep catching them and training them up until I get one that has a good special attack nature and evolves into the correct Pokemon. Also, just north of Rustboro, I caught an Incada. I love this Pokemon. It's just a little bug ground type that evolves into Ninjask, plus it spawns a Shedinja in your party. I love both of those Pokemon, even if Ninjask probably isn't as good overall as some other things that I could be taking this run. Still, I'm not passing it up. I never really got to use Ninjask in one of these runs. Now let's level up the team a little bit and start making attempts at the Rock Gym. So at level 14, our Beautyfly is getting the Geodudes a sliver away from fainting just to get one shot by Rock Tomb in return. So I got up to 15, then swept both of them. The problem is that Nosepass one-shots Beautyfly, and even when she misses, we hardly hurt her. Our Heracross can do decent damage eventually, but considering she's just gonna keep using potions, we're not even close to a win yet. I think that I need to get to level 17 so I can use Stun Spore, then maybe level Heracross and Incada up a little bit more. Sand Attack could for sure help us. So I spent ages leveling with the team so that Beautyfly could have Stun Spore and Incada could have Sand Attack, and it worked great. We still lose Beautyfly right away, but between Paralysis and horrible accuracy, Nosepass ran out of Rock Tombs pretty fast. Thanks to that, we could just very slowly whittle away at her with an Incada and later with Heracross. It still took forever, but I'm just happy to finally get the win. It's only a short trip to the fighting gym. Let's just learn Rock Tomb, grab a Silk Scarf, and go straight there. Yeah, the fighting gym was super easy. Beautyfly double resists fighting moves, so we're never in any real danger. Super easy win. I do think that I need to grind before I could beat the upcoming rival fight though. Hey, check it out! While I was grinding up a few levels on the way to the rival, I caught a shiny Minun. I think this is the only shiny I've seen in 2025 so far in one of these challenge runs, so that's pretty cool. And it's not often I actually get to catch it. And obviously I'm not counting the red water Onyx in Gen 2. That doesn't count, it's always shiny. Anyway, after a bit of grinding, our Nincada evolved, not only getting us our Ninjask, but also getting us Shedinja. It looks like it's the same nature as Nincada, so that's really helpful. I'm happy to have a good attack nature. I doubt I'm going to get a ton of use out of Shedinja, but it's for sure going to be useful in specific fights. Alright, so after failing to the rival a few times, when the team was at a lower level, I got this try where Nincada is finally evolved and thus no longer weak to water, so I had him be the one to take out Wingull. Second is Kabuskin, and this would normally sweep my team easily after Beautyfly couldn't one-shot it with Gust, but this time he used Focus Energy instead of fighting back, so we easily two-shot it. Last is Lombre, but he's weak to flying, so Gust was an easy two-shot. I swear, so many Pokemon fights are like this. Either we lose badly, or we gain a few levels and win incredibly easily. Alright, so it's time for the next Pokemon, and this takes forever. I decided to go for Volbeat, and that's a very slow process, since it only has 1% encounter rate. It also doesn't have as much special attack as Illumise, but Volbeat has Tail Glow to raise its special attack. Plus, it's got the erratic experience gain rather than fluctuating. I know they sound the same, but fluctuating is the slowest leveling group in the game, and erratic is the fastest. In fact, fluctuating requires 1 million more experience points to hit level 100 than erratic does. It's crazy. For reference, the average Pokemon takes exactly 1 million experience points to go from level 1 to level 100. If you're fluctuating, you need 1.6 million, whereas if you're erratic, you only need 0.6 million, so, 600,000. It's wild how fast Volbeat levels up. Wow. Normally at the Electric Gym, it's pretty hard, but this time, cakewalk. I leveled up Heracross to learn Brick Break because I figured I'd be doomed without it as soon as Magneton came out, but it ended up destroying his whole team. Manectric put up a pretty great fight since we were paralyzed by the end, but we still ended up winning without having to switch, and even if Heracross fainted, then I'm sure Shedinja would have been fine. That went great. You know what won't go great? The upcoming Maxie fight and Fire Gym. We're a bug team, so we don't really have a good answer for fire types. I can get Dig on the way there, but this is a bit of a weak gen for Dig, so I'm not expecting great damage. I think that I just need to grind a ton on my way there. The worst part is that we can get our hands on a rock type, but not until right after the Fire Gym. It's just our luck. First at Maxie's the Mightyena fight, so we just one-shot it with Brick Break, then switched to Ninjask as Camerupt came out. Weirdly, he used Magnitude, so we Sand attacked, and we're flying type, so he doesn't hit us. That and him using Focus Energy made me think he must not have a fire move, but then he used Ember and nearly one-shot us. We got just a few scratches in before we fainted and finished it off with another Brick Break from Heracross. Last is Zubat, so I had Beautyfly hit Gust, but then we got confused off Supersonic and hit ourselves. One wing attack nearly took us out, but we hit another Gust, then got taken out with Bite. He had almost no health left, so I sent in Shedinja to finish it, but he used a Super Potion to heal, so we only got one hit in before we went down, then sent in Volbeat. Quick Attack did passable damage, we fainted instantly to a crit, and I had to send Heracross in as our final Pokemon. We're double weak to flying, but we're faster, and Horn Attack took it out. Man, I hate how close that was just thanks to a Zubat. Now, I'm sure no one is surprised, but the Fire Gym was incredibly easy until we got to Torkoal, and then it was just a brutal beatdown. Our whole team did almost no damage to Torkoal, and even after her special attack was down 6 stages from spamming Overheat, she was still one-shotting us with it. That's 6 stages down! I think what I need is a change in strategy, moves, and to get a little bit stronger. I'm going to level up a bit on Ninjask and teach it the Dig TM, then I'm going to open the Torkoal fight with Stun Spore and hope that that gives us enough chances to actually get a win at the fight. I'm sure that Heracross would hit harder with Dig than Ninjask, but Heracross can learn Earthquake later on, so I'm going to want Dig and Earthquake on different team members. Alright, a few levels later on Ninjask, and things are already going better. We paralyzed her right away, and although she was still sweeping our team, we were at least doing slightly better. We hit a Dig that did great damage, but we still faint pretty fast, and in the end it came down to Paralysis kicking in twice while Heracross was fighting it. I don't know if we would have survived an Overheat from full health, but I do know that we couldn't have survived 2 of them. I'm just happy that it didn't take too many tries. Now let's go get to the normal gym. But on our way there, I took the Claw Fossil. I knew that if I didn't say what I took, you'd all ask. Actually, now that I think about it, everyone asks anyway. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. And of course, I then went and revived the fossil to get our last Pokemon. I think that the Gen 3 fossil Pokemon are both really cool, but I usually end up going with the root fossil, so this is a fun change of pace. Feels good to finally have a rock type on the team. I figure this might really help us later on in the flying gym. Plus, the lonely nature means more attack and less defense, and although I'm not thrilled about having less defense, I'm loving having more attack. That's gonna help a lot, this is already a very high attack Pokemon. Well, the whole normal gym was a sweep until slacking at the end. Basically what I did was use Endure on turns where he could attack, and Brick Break on turns where he couldn't. It was to keep him from using Counter, although he never used it anyway. It was actually pretty close, but we did get the knockout. Not that it mattered too much. I'm sure I could have just won this fight with Dig if I really needed to. Alright, it's time for things to get a lot more difficult. We have a flying gym coming up, and our heavy hitter is double weak to flying. This might be awful for a long time. I went to New Moville to get myself a Thunderbolt TM, but Volbeat is the only member of the team who can learn it. I don't exactly think Volbeat's going to be able to sweep her whole team unless I level it up quite a bit to the point where it can safely use Tail Glow. I'm going to fight every trainer I can on my way there with an experience share on Volbeat, then I'm going to grind up Volbeat himself a little bit near the end. Oh yeah, and there's a rival fight on the way. We took 5 damage the entire fight. Alright, so we start by hitting Swablu with Thunderbolt as it just uses Safeguard, then a Hyper Potion, so we easily take it out without getting hit. Putting all that extra time into leveling Volbeat was absolutely worth it. Not that it took long thanks to it being in the fastest leveling category. I switched to Beauty Fly as Tropius came out and instantly got one shot, tried sending in Heracross, then we actually survived Aerial Ace and Counter doubled the damage in return, so we one-shot her. Back into Volbeat as Pelipper came out and I started building up Special Attack as Pelipper confused us. We maxed out our Special Attack, but we took some damage to Aerial Ace and Confusion damage on the way. Of course, as soon as we hit Thunderbolt, we get a one-shot. Alteria's out second from last, and we didn't even get close to a one-shot, and she used Dragon Dance, but our first one-shot paralyzed her, so we still went first and took her out. Last is Skarmory, but it was just a one-shot since we're charged up. That wasn't so bad. After that is Maxie, and his first 2 Pokemon were super easy, but man, his Crobat was just brutal. It's way faster than us and hits so hard. I kept trying for Thunderbolt, but Confusion wasn't letting it happen. I bet I could win this if I just try a bunch of times. You know what? This actually wasn't too bad. A few tries in, and we got this one where my Confuse Ray didn't really pay off, but we got a Paralysis from Thunderbolt, and it totally saved us. We won, but I don't think we would have if it wasn't for grinding up Volbeat so much. I love how fast this thing levels up. I gotta do some more solo runs with erratic Pokemon, I swear. Alright, we're on the big trip to the most terrifying part of any Emerald run, the Psychic Gym. I think we might actually do well this time, though. Famous last words, I know, but Bug is super effective against Psychic type, and we do have one solid Bug move on the team with Signal Beam. It's physical in this game, but Volbeat's attack isn't too bad. I could also pick up the TM for Shadow Ball and give that to someone, and if I grind up Shedinja more, then he can learn that one by level up. We've got a few good moves for this fight, but I still kinda think I'll have to grind before I can win. Then it's Archie, who's probably gonna be easy other than the Crobat at the end. Juan, who might not be too bad if we could build up some Tail Glow on Volbeat. Then Wally, who I can usually just beat with my eyes closed. Yeah, Psychic Gym is the only one that I'm kinda worried about at this point. I'm not super worried, but yeah, I'm kinda worried. When am I not worried about the Emerald Psychic Gym? So when I got to the Psychic Gym, they totally outclassed most of our team outside of Volbeat. The thing is, they keep one-shotting our lower-leveled Pokemon, and that gives Volbeat tons of chances to hit them, so I was actually doing pretty well for a lot of the fight. In the end, we only took out half their team, but I'm impressed with how long we lasted. I think that it's time I seriously catch up the lower-leveled Pokemon on the team, though. They would be way more useful if they weren't lagging so far behind in levels. I think that it's time that we raise the minimum level of the team. I'll get them up to about level 35 and Shedinja to 38 so that it learns Shadow Ball, then I think we could maybe win. Well, maybe 35 was too low because they all still just got one shot. Honestly, I seem to do a lot worse on attempts now because they seem to want to take out Volbeat as a higher priority. I think that leveling up Volbeat a little bit more would actually have a way bigger difference than leveling up the rest of the team at this point. Although, having Ninjask use Shadow Ball before any of them can hit us is pretty nice. Shedinja actually ended up being useless because he's too slow to not get hit first. I'm just gonna pull the trigger and rare candy up Volbeat a little bit. It's already long since maxed out the effort values, and I think we just need to hit slightly harder and to get somewhat lucky. So I get just a few levels on Volbeat and Ninjask, then try again. This time going after Xatu first, and it actually turned out great. Normally I leave Xatu alone early since he can't hurt Shedinja, so I figured that I should take out the other ones who can first, but I actually end up doing just enough damage now that we could easily take out Xatu, Solrock, and Lunatone one by ganging up on them, while Claydol was just doing pretty weak earthquakes. I don't know why, but I kinda thought he'd switch to something like Psychic and pick us off like Xatu was. That was really not that bad. It's kind of funny seeing him use 4 Hyper Potions in a row at the end though, what was that? Next was Archie, who actually ended up being really easy. His Crobat was giving up chances to attack us, instead just using Super Potions. Those are way too weak for a full heal at this point in the game, so it basically ruins the fight for him. Alright, Water Gym time, and this one took a few tries to figure out. First, I used Shedinja to beat Lovedis without having to worry about Attract. Then I switched to Volbeat for Crawdaunt, easily taking it out with Signal Beam spam. All he got us with was Taunt, and we even got him to waste a Hyper Potion. Whiscash is next, and this is why I don't just Tail Glow from the start. I had to take it out with Heracross, although he hardly hurt us, so it was fine. Nothing too hard. After that is the real threat though, Kingdra. I lost this Kingdra fight a few times due to double team spam, and he started early with it again, but we confused him early, got 2 Tail Glows in, then started using Thunderbolt. He snapped out of confusion and was hurting us, but it wasn't too bad. He built up his evasion more and even healed with a Hyper Potion, but we were still hitting hard enough that I knew that we stood a chance. We missed a few more times before we took him to red health, and we dropped to red health right before we hit the finishing blow. All he had left was Celio, who we can easily beat with one of our charged up Thunderbolts. That was harder than I anticipated. And of course, last is Wally, and we pretty much sweep his whole team. Altaria at the start could have been a problem if I didn't use the right Pokemon, but Armaldo did a pretty great job with Ancient Power, and even if we didn't crit, I think it would have gone fine. Now that we're the Elite Four, let's take a look at our stats. As you can see, I really overhauled the moveset on the way here. After a lot of globetrotting to get all the TMs, we've got incredible type coverage. I also made the new minimum level 42, since it's still a bit lower than the Elite Four, but not so much lower that we have loads of useless Pokemon. I don't think this will be easy, but I do feel pretty overall great about this. Make your final guesses on if we can win this or not. Let's do this. First is Dark Trainer Sydney. This was incredibly easy as I figured it would be. Not only are Fighting and Bug good against his whole team, but Bug is double super effective against 2 of his Pokemon. Heracross went down to a random flying move, but other than that, we had a super easy time. Second is Ghost Trainer Phoebe. This was a simple fight, but it still took 3 tries because of bad curse and confusion luck at the start on the first 2 tries. Really, all I had to do was get 3 Swords Dances in on Ninjask, then I could sweep just about everything other than the Sableye at the end. It did a lot of damage to us and took out a few Pokemon, but obviously we had our whole team to throw at him, so that one double team just wasn't gonna stop me. Third is Ice Trainer Glacia. Now, although it looks like a lot is going on in this fight, it's really easy. I was just trying to play carefully, but really didn't have much of a chance of losing. I just had to make sure that I took out both Glalie with Heracross and Armaldo, and that wasn't a problem at all. She's got 3 other Pokemon, but none of them are able to hit Shedinja, so all I had to do was fight carefully until the Glalies went down. Then I sent in Shedinja to use Toxic and Shadow Ball. The Wall Rain at the end took ages because he kept full restoring, but eventually we got an easy first try. Fourth is Dragon Trainer Drake. Right away, Shalgon spams Rock Tomb and Protect, so it's incredibly annoying. I've tried different Pokemon at the start, but no one does any serious damage, so no matter what, I have to take some hits. He switched to Kingdra, so I switched to Shedinja, knowing that he couldn't hit me, so he'd switch and we'd get the free Toxic in on Altaria. I then switched to Armaldo so that I could get in some hits with Ancient Power. We took some damage, but ended up taking him out. Back to Kingdra, so I sent in Shedinja again, and he switched to Flygon. But this time Toxic missed, then he very easily swept my entire team. We were 11 levels lower than Flygon, and Dragon type is the only type that we have no answer for. I for sure need to seriously level up the team to catch up to them. Well, I think we're officially at our brick wall fight. I made 50 my new minimum and still did horribly because he randomly switched to Salamence early on, and it nearly took our whole team just to take him down. Almost his whole team is super effective against us, and his stats are just much better than ours. It's time that we actually start getting up to the same level as them for the first time in a very long time. So I tried this over and over at level 55, and it made me realize this fight is incredibly random. He's switching the order of his Pokemon constantly, and often just switching them up mid-match. It's brutal, and no matter how early or late in the fight that it happens, Salamence coming out is always when we're doomed. It's to the point where the rest of his team really isn't that bad other than potentially Flygon, but Salamence wrecks us every time. I just have to keep getting stronger and trying. Alright, so at level 60, we have this run where we basically won just because of good switching luck. This time, we had a really easy time getting Toxic on Salamence while Kingdra was switching out. So then we had to buy time and be careful to make sure that he didn't land in red health to use a full restore. Kingdra at the end was annoying because he could full restore too, but he couldn't hit Shedinja, so we would have eventually won no matter what. Feels good to get past this fight, especially since I think Wallace will be easy. Finally, Pokemon Champion Wallace. Yeah, as expected, this was really easy. See, the thing is, only half of his team can hit Shedinja, and each one of them that can is something I can two-shot with something else. The most dangerous members of his team can't hit Shedinja at all, so I could just win with Toxic and Shadow Ball. Eventually, Shedinja did faint thanks to getting hit by Toxic himself, but we couldn't have possibly lost by that point in the fight. It was an easy first try. With that victory, we get into the Hall of Fame and win the run, but you know it's not over yet. Gen 3 has a post-game fight with Steven Stone. Don't really know how it's gonna go, but I know that we're not even gonna try the fight below level 78, the same as their highest. They're starting the fight with Skarmory, easily one of the most annoying possible things that we could fight. Really, most of his team is going to be a problem. He only has one Pokemon that can't hit Shedinja, and it's part Steel, so we can't even hit it with Toxic. I get the feeling that this fight is almost completely up to Heracross and Armaldo to win, because most of his team is weak to Brick Break and Earthquake. Volbeat is going to have to save us against stuff like Skarmory and Cradily. I'm pretty confident I can win this fight, but I think we're going to have to hit level 90 or above before we can pull it off. Plus, just to get to the fight, we have to ditch a Pokemon for an HM Pokemon, so sorry, Beautyfly. You were great early on in the run, but you're the least important part of the team now. Alright, so first up is Skarmory, so I had Volbeat use Thunderbolt twice. We got hit by Toxic, but he still went down. Second was Claydol, though, so I had to stay in and end up taking a lot more damage. I knew that Volbeat was the best choice for taking out Claydol, though. Heracross could have used Mega Horn, but if Claydol survived, then Psychic would have really hurt us. Cradily is next, so I just hit Brick Break twice with Armaldo, and next is his own Armaldo, so we just have a mirror match. We both hit each other with Ancient Power, then we just keep spamming full restores. We ended up using all 5 Ancient Powers, and even got in the Omni Boost before he went down. I stayed in to take advantage of the Omni Boost as Metagross came out, and although we did a decent bit of damage, we fainted fast and had to send in Heracross. Mega Horn was doing great damage, we didn't faint to Psychic, then we took him out. That's when I breathed a sigh of relief because all he had left was Aggron and it can't hit Shedinja. Now he held on for ages thanks to healing items and us not hitting all that hard with Shadow Ball, but we ended up getting the knockout on the very last power point. That was awesome. Man, that went pretty great. That was a fun type to play with. We got to use a lot of really fun Pokemon, and nothing was too egregiously grindy. I really hope you guys like that run. The next Pokemon challenge should be up next week on Saturday, like usual, with this year's birthday challenge, and I'm leaving it as a secret for now. My birthday, September 22nd, but obviously, the video's going up next Saturday, regardless, not gonna move it to my birthday. As always, I'm looking at your suggestions in the comments, in the challenge request section of my Discord channel, and on Twitter. Subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned. outro time, and I am very, very excited because I think I might have the credits fixed. I don't want to jinx it too much, but the guy I was emailing with the other week who came up with an idea for the credits, but it wasn't working for me, I emailed him back and let him know the problem, and he was spitballing some ideas, and he dropped one idea on me, and I think it might have been it. I may have gotten it fixed. Basically what he said was, he was wondering if something about me copying the names directly from like the Google Doc thing that all the names are in, you know, because it's like a CVS file or CSV. Whatever one is a spreadsheet file, I forget the extension name. That's what Google has it in, right? And I copy it straight from there into Premiere or into Photoshop, and either way it chugs horribly. Well, he was saying, what if there's like metadata that's getting copied in that? Because he was saying that when he did it, he pasted it into Notepad and then pasted it from Notepad into whatever program he was putting it in. For him, it was Photoshop. And he said that there was a little bit of slowdown, but it wasn't too bad. Well, you know what? Right before I did this voiceover, I was like, hey, this is a good idea. I didn't even consider there might be metadata in with the copy-paste that'd be messing with it, because, you know, on screen it looks like just a regular copy-paste. So I copy it, I paste into Notepad, then I copy it out of Notepad, because I know that, you know, it's unformatted paste, so it'll just be it, you know, all the names in a row, just vertically like that. I paste that into Premiere, and yeah, it's a little slow. It's a little chugging a little bit in the way that it didn't on the old text editor that was better, and I don't know why they never got rid of it. It doesn't make any sense, but it's working. I can play it. It seems to be moving. It's a little bit weird and janky, but like, it seems to be functioning fine enough in Premiere itself. And if it's functioning fine enough in Premiere itself, I think I can get this to render. And if this renders, I have the credits fixed, and that's awesome. If this works, then I have more ideas. I think I can make it alphabetical next week, because I could reorder alphabetically in the Google Doc thing, then I could paste it into Notepad, then copy and paste it over into the editing software so I could get it alphabetical. That way, if you're looking for your name on the screen, it's way easier to find it, because alphabetical rather than just random. I don't even know what order it's in right now. It's insane. I can't tell. Also, I need to update the names list too, because I'm still working with the names list that I had last week, and I've had more signups. But hey, if this works, it should be actually pretty easy for me to update the list once a week. Like, I don't think it would be that hard. I guess I should, okay, I guess I should just put the new names on, right? Wait, no, Google keeps the old names too. Okay, cool. I think I can keep every single name then, because I don't want to get rid of names if people stop being signed up, but I don't know if it'll be automatically taken out of the file. I think they might keep inactive ones or past ones in there, and if so, then that's perfectly fine. Either way, I think I have the credits working. I have to go though, because one, my throat is really sore, and two, I burned my left hand really bad this morning. I was cooking egg fried rice, and right after I finished cooking it, I put the wok down on the counter and I was gonna serve out my food, and my hand slipped, and I grabbed the hot part of the pan, like a hot part of the top of the handle. Right where the handle meets like the actual bowl of the wok is a metal part. My hand hit it, and it burned pretty bad. It's not horribly severe. I had to hold off on a stream. I wanted to stream more Pokemon stuff for you guys, but I couldn't grip a controller. Well, I put burn gel on it, and it's been like 12 hours since then, and the pain has really died down, so I think I'll be good tomorrow, but, you know, little bit limited today because of that. I'll be okay, though. And last week, I forgot to do the $50 support shoutout thingy, because I was so busy messing around with these credits, I forgot to do the shoutout. No one complained. I don't think anyone even brought it up, but I'm sorry. So I've updated the list. The list of the $50 supporters for the shoutouts right now are Jacob Busby and Javid Khusro. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. I appreciate it very much. 50 American dollars, I'll have you know, is a lot of money in Canada, so I very much appreciate the generosity. Now, if you'll excuse me, I want to rush and get this edit out, because usually I get the early viewing for these challenges done on like Saturday or Sunday. It's Friday night right now. I guess it's gonna actually be like really, really, really early Saturday morning my time zone by the time this goes up, but whatever. I think I can get the whole edit done tonight, and it'll still be earlier than it usually is, so I want to get that up as early as possible for you guys to thank you for supporting me on the YouTube memberships and the Patreon. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.